putting your needs and your family's needs first is okay. Whether you're a man, a woman, you have a partner, you don't, you're a parent, it's extremely important because eventually things will fall apart if you're not all the way together yourself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Going there. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome, everyone. We're here. It is the month of July, right? Yes, it's the month of July. Last month was June, obviously, but the last episode was June 30th. So, yes,
Easy for you to say, Amani. Like
exactly.
MOJ, month of June, month of July. We're in it. We're in it to win
Yes,
it.
we are in it. What kind of updates do you want to share with the people, Mandy?
Amani, there's so much going on. I got a lot
Yeah,
of updates.
I know
Okay.
you do. Talk to us.
So for Adventures in Business, we are in the month of July, which mark our 3-year anniversary month. This is a big deal. We've got our 200th episode coming up and 3 years. And so we've got a bunch of fun and games happening. There's collaborations, there's contests, there's a bunch of content coming out. So if you aren't following us on Instagram or YouTube, follow us right now. Like just
Yeah.
hit pause from this and follow Adventures in Business Live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, because we've got a lot of funny things. We have some behind the scenes stuff never heard before.
Yeah.
We've done, I think something I'm really proud of is we're doing a get to know the guest. And so our next couple mini episodes are super secret reveals where I interview one of Amani's best friends and Amani interviews one of my best friends. These are people we've known for more than 20 years. And the crazy thing is I have no idea what Amani asked my friend Lori, and Amani will have no idea what I'm asking his friend. And so that's coming out. We've got just some really, really fun stuff. So, and just to help us celebrate our anniversary, the greatest way people find us in the audio platforms, they find us in Spotify and Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio, is when we have a review
Mhm.
or if people are following us. So if you're listening to us on one of those platforms right now, just give us a little subscribe, give us a little follow, and then write a quick review. It's super easy. That helps put us in more people's feeds and helps us deliver all this awesome masterclass stuff with these amazing guests to more and more and more people, which is what we're all about right now. We want to make an impact, help the world be better business humans. So
There we
that's
go.
that's like some shameless front of the show plugs, which we never normally do. I
Right.
know we
Right.
we we should do that more, but we don't. But
Yes.
what's going on
Good.
with you, Amani? What did I miss in all
What
of
did you
that?
miss?
Yeah.
Just personally, I returned back from my East Coast trip on Tuesday. I was very tired, so I slept all day Wednesday and Thursday, and
Good.
finally was good with Friday. But that's really it. That's you covered everything. Excited about the features for our 3-year anniversary, our 200th episode,
Yeah.
and it'll be cool to see the behind the scenes features and all the things. So can't
Yeah.
wait.
What about pancakes? I'm doing a pancake check. Have you had your celebration pancakes yet?
No,
You're
I did
past
not.
due.
I was sleeping. So okay, I'm due this week. I'll go this week. I promise.
Okay.
I'll send you
Okay,
a
good.
picture of me ordering the pancakes.
Stacks and stacks. One of our friends calls it man cakes. When he goes to have
Oh,
pancakes with his buddies,
yeah.
he calls it man cakes. So you
I like
should
that. Yes.
send
Yeah.
me a picture of your man cakes.
I will send you a photo.
Send me a
Now,
photo.
who do we have the pleasure of hearing from and learning from today?
Oh, Mani, we've got a really awesome human. Again, we keep having awesome humans.
Yes.
She's a franchise expert. She's a founder. She's a leader in the wellness world. She's an author. She's a mom. She's a board advisor. I really believe there is nothing this woman can't do. We have Liberty Bernal. I didn't even
Yes.
ask you, Liberty. Did I say that right? Did I say that your
You
last name right?
did. You
Yes.
did it beautifully.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Good.
We'll give you a welcome. We give you a round of applause really quickly. Yes, yes, we like that. All right. So we're here. Welcome to the show. We have lots to learn and to ask you. I think to start off, we'll have two questions. My first questions, and I like to ask this question more recently than in the past. If we give you 30 seconds to tell us who Liberty is, how would you describe yourself?
Wow, that's a great question right off the bat.
Yes, we don't play
Oh.
around here.
Liberty. Okay, and we're in it. Liberty is inspirational, motivational, authentic, and on a mission to change lives. So I think that
Wow,
was less than 30 seconds, but
that was
that
good
is me
though.
in a nutshell.
We do. And so one thing off the bat is that um I hope I have my facts correct. I did my research, but you went back to school later in life to finish. So I find that very courageous and inspirational. What was your thought process for that?
Thank you. It's been a huge deal in my life, so I really appreciate you bringing that up. I'm only halfway through to my bachelor's, so the big celebration and sharing that was really only for my associates, but that took 20 years, Amani.
Mm, wow.
I was beginning college when my parents said we found something we really feel that we should do as a family, which was my entree into franchising when I was only 18. And I tried to do it all, but when I launched my own franchise system, I left school to become an entrepreneur, and I grew in franchising and do not regret it. But I was actually inspired by two people in my life, my two most important people, my husband and my daughter.
Mm,
Aw.
And my daughter is 12, and I would like for her to go to college. But of course, she said, "But mom, you didn't go."
mm,
So,
mm,
inspo number one. Second, my husband, Ryan, is in law school right now. He is finishing in December. So, he decided to shift his career later in life. And watching him be in the throes of law school was very inspiring for me, to say the least I could do is get my bachelor's. So I'll
Hmm.
be completing my bachelor's at the same school as he is finishing law school, actually. So it's pretty cool.
very nice. As someone who went back to school later in life for my master's degree, it takes a lot. So well done for you. So what I like to
Thank
do, what
you.
we like to do, is Manny and I play a little tennis. So I'm going to serve it over to Manny and let her kind of continue with the
Got it.
question. So
I
carry it
got it.
on, Manny.
I got it. Um, I just asking about your husband. What job field was he in, and what law is he going to practice?
So Ryan, like myself, has been an entrepreneur for the majority of his adult life.
Hmm.
And we have both done many things. My common thread throughout my entrepreneurial career has been franchising and fitness. He's done a number of different things, from owning bars to joining me in franchising. And the latest thing that we had done that actually it was our only outside of those categories business, but it did extremely well. It was a disinfection company, you guys, that we started before COVID. And no one
Mm.
quite believes us until I have proof of 2018. um, anyway, that business ended up becoming very heavily involved in the entertainment industry throughout COVID, and we became the COVID department on set for many television shows, movies, live productions. And throughout that experience, Ryan realized we just kind of knew there was an end point to that situation. And should we not move forward in the entertainment industry after disinfection and COVID requirements? And what do we do next? And Ryan had always wanted to be a lawyer. So
Mm.
we decided as a family, because it really, as you know, Amani, going back to school is a family decision. It affects
Mhm.
Mhm.
everyone around you. So we decided he could do that. So he was juggling working and law school, but for this last year, he is a full-time student.
Awesome. Oh, that's so
Yeah,
wonderful you gave each other the space to do that. That's huge. That's
it's
huge.
huge. Yeah.
Well, while we're kind of talking about school, you've been quoted recently saying that life is full of a series of graduations. And you said something, I love this, and I want you to expand on it. You said, you don't need a ceremony to step into your next chapter. You just need courage. So
Mhm.
I love this idea of like Amani just wrote a best-selling book, right? And so he's kind of graduating from that. And we're all kind of I turned 50 in August, and I've had this big overhaul in the last 18 months on my health. And so when I turn 50, I'm going to graduate from that. And there
Yes.
are these like mini moments that is kind of like a graduation. that you don't celebrate and you don't have a ceremony. So, like, what do you mean by that? And how can people have more pancakes like Amani's going to have? How can you
I love
celebrate
that.
like those mini wins in that way?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would like to join you in pancake eating.
Yes,
Um,
all right. We can
so
make that happen.
Pancakes for all.
so there are, I think sometimes we get stuck. We get stuck in thinking we are one thing, or we in our lives are we it's just human nature to associate someone with one thing. And I know looking back at my career, I'm definitely it's not a bad stuck, but I get categorized into fitness and franchising. But I have graduated into so many other things in life from becoming a wife. A mom is certainly a graduation, and those age milestones, or even shifting careers. And I think we tend to do it what feels natural, but we know, like Amani with the master's degree, or for me, even that associate's degree, I made it a big deal. So a lot of people didn't attend their associate's degree ceremony, but you can make everything you do, whether it's education, just a life. I like to think of most of what we're doing are considered upgrades, even if it's a lateral shift, it's moving into your next chapter. And I remember thinking so I self-published the book that I wrote, right, speaking of COVID earlier, right before COVID in 2019. And that was such a milestone for me because essentially I had taken all of what I had learned and experienced over 20 years and put it into a book. And so even though the fanfare that I dreamed about didn't happen, I'd like to blame it on COVID, but who knows why. It was definitely a graduation point for me, and to suddenly become an author and however that looks. So I think whether large or small, it depends on the person, what you might call it. We go through a lot of changes and shifts, and we should celebrate each and every one in our own way, even if it's a pat on the back on yourself. Just recognize it. It doesn't have to be public, but it's good. It's good to shift and change. We don't have to just be one thing. We can, I can have 12 roles and 10 jobs, and that's okay. We don't have to lock
Mm.
ourselves into just a single unit. And with your health shifts, that you are who you are today. And I think milestone birthdays shift us. I know my 40th and then my 45th were big shifts for me as well. Um, you're not just one thing. I just was reminded that our cells regenerate every 7 years. Not one cell in our body today is the same as it was 7 years ago. We literally become new humans. It's okay to become something different or more than we were a week ago or a year ago or 7 years ago.
Yeah, and why not graduate and have your own ceremony for it, right? Like, that's really
Yes,
cool. Well, so
recognize that.
yeah, so I wanna go back to your young adult. You get tapped on the shoulder by your family to say, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing." What was your role in your first franchise, and how did that impact you?
So the very first role I had in franchising was as a franchisee. In the 90s, there was a very wildly popular company called Curves. If you remember, it
I
was
knew
women's.
curves, yeah,
Do you?
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
women's fitness. And it was before we ever called fitness centers boutique studios, but we were leaders in women only boutique fitness studios. And my parents had heard about it. They were looking, well, my dad was retired and he is a whole other story, but my father was 58 when I was born. So I had kind of a unique upbringing because of that alone. But with my dad already being retired, my mom looking to exit corporate America, they wanted a sense of doing their own thing, but guidance. And my passion toward the end of my high school career had become fitness. So they wanted to combine all of our strengths into something that we could do together. So we bought one Curve studio gym in 1998, and then a second location in 1999 here in San Diego. We became their franchisees of the year. We had 1,000 members between just two locations.
Wow.
Um, but we discovered that there were what we thought issues, with equipment, with the business model, with certain things. So as they were growing, we sold our two locations, and I had an idea for Liberty Fitness.
Hmm.
So it wasn't meant to be a franchise, but I don't know if you want me to continue into that part of the story, but
Yes, go for it.
okay.
I've got to follow up. But yeah, go with the Liberty
um,
Fitness. Yeah.
the Liberty Fitness story is I loved Curves and everything they were doing, but I was 20 years old and Curves really was meant for it just tended to be for women who were of an older age, a
Mhm.
certain demographic, if you will. And I thought if I could just create something like that, but for women of all ages.
Mhm.
So long story short, I opened one studio, it grew to two, it turned into a franchise system that my family owned. We did end up designing and manufacturing our own equipment to make it
Mm.
really good.
Mhm.
And we ended up selling it to private equity and had 65 locations when we sold it. So, that was all
Wow.
within about a 3 year, 4 year time span.
Wow. So we have something in common there because in the mid 90s, I worked for Quality Fitness for Women in Ohio.
Oh,
And Quality
wow.
Fitness for Women it was built to compete with Curves, and it was kinda the same thing, like, they wanted a younger demographic, but younger moms. So they put themselves in the middle of emerging suburban areas in Ohio
Yes.
to capture, like, the new moms that were having trouble, like, juggling like, they worked out all the time, and now they're new moms, and they can't even take a shower in a day kinda thing. So it
Yes.
had, like, a babysitting room in there, and it was very
Oh,
centric for that, right? And I worked
very
there and I
cool.
loved it. But then they opened another facility and it seemed like they didn't know how to grow their business. So I was like bouncing between
Oh,
so I was managing both clubs. I was teaching aerobics and personal training at like both clubs. And I was only, I don't know, like 17, 18, 19 at the time. So I didn't know enough about business. It was my first sales job. But I didn't know enough about business to know they probably just grew too fast and they didn't have the infrastructure for it. So with that, what does make people fail? Like when they think, okay, I have this one business and this one business is going great and I want to scale it, so I'm going to franchise it or I'm going to open another facility or something
mhm.
like that. But so many of them fail. Like I was a part of it. I witnessed it firsthand. I worked for something like that. And it doesn't have to be fitness or wellness, but like when you're
Right.
looking at franchising opportunities, what does make a franchise fail as they add more on?
What I've seen more often than not is a franchisor who doesn't understand that their business becomes supporting franchisees. So for me, when it came to fitness, I was so passionate about fitness and affecting women's lives through fitness, nutrition, and wellness. But as we started franchising, I essentially had to leave that aspect of my life. I fought for it though. I still wanted to teach same thing. I taught
Yeah.
aerobics and I taught,
Yeah.
led the
Yeah.
classes and the circuit is what we were all about at
Mhm.
Liberty Fitness and Curves. Um, that's no longer your business. Your first customer is the franchisee, and you have to put systems and processes in place to support them. So oftentimes, especially if growth becomes fast, you're grasping at straws. You're not quite sure what to put into place to do all the things without losing your original business model, which is, whatever it might be. Let's use fitness as an example. So that's the typical answer. Obviously, there's human beings involved. So someone just may not understand people in general, and franchising is a people business. But
Yeah.
when I'm hired as a consultant to help someone decide if they want to become a franchise. They might have a successful business or considering franchising. Um, Part of what I take them through is that scenario of would this be the right fit? Because here is your job now. It's no longer over here, it's here.
You become like a people man. You get back into leadership, like a people manager,
Yes.
giving people what they need,
Yes.
making sure they have the support they need, they have the growth mindset, the inspiration, all of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, it's very different. And franchisees aren't normal customers. Oftentimes, franchisees have put a mortgage on their home to fund the business. They've
Mm.
turned in their retirement account to fund the business. So it's huge, and every tiny decision matters. So that is what I discovered at a very young age, that it was great to hit 65 locations and franchisees, but I felt like I was carrying the weight of all of them and their things
Mm.
on my back every day. It was extremely stressful because it mattered so much. It wasn't, not to say a job isn't important, but it wasn't a job where they could go find a new job. It was everything to
Yeah.
them.
I want to kind of go back to something you said earlier because you talked about courage. I want to know what's your definition of courage.
Oh, you're really asking the big questions. The definition to me of courage is stepping forward blindly. And it doesn't mean literally blindly, but courage means you likely don't know what is in your next step and you move forward anyway.
Hmm, love it. And then as we were speaking about different types of graduation, what's been your favorite graduation in life so far?
Hmm.
Becoming a mom.
Uh,
Aw.
okay. Tell us why. I mean, I know why, but I don't want to assume why.
Oh my goodness. I just was having a conversation with my husband about this, about how having Gracie, my daughter's name is Grace, and we call her Gracie, she made me a lot less selfish for one. I wasn't an entirely selfish person, but when you make decisions not just for yourself or your partner anymore, but this little being, and just realizing how much I do help to form her life and the future, it's huge. And now every decision I make, every inspiration and motivation I'm part of, Gracie is part of that, just bigger now. I mean, I can't even remember what my life was like before her.
Mm, yeah.
Aw.
Special shout out to Teresa Marie House, former guest. She's in the chat joining us. She says hello.
Yay! Hello, Teresa.
Hi,
Yeah.
Teresa.
In franchising and particularly entrepreneurship, there's a lot of volatility, ups and downs. What advice do you have for people who are
Mm.
experiencing a lot of volatility in their business? And how have you been able to get through that as an entrepreneur?
Oof, take big deep breaths all the time. You know, I used to, and I would say when Gracie was really young, at that time I was part of a franchise system that had started in Australia and they wanted to grow in the US. So they had identified me as that person to help them grow. So I said, I'll own the flagship location and I'll find franchisees and I'll support them and I have a 2-year old. No big deal. So I would take it all on and have big hairy meltdowns on the regular, thinking that was normal. And, something I've graduated to recently was, putting more mindfulness and a calm way of being first, and everyone's talking about that. I feel like lately, regulating your body's systems before you can go and function in your business is really important. And I don't even want to minimize it by calling it self-care because it's so much more than that. But putting your needs and your family's needs first is okay. Whether you're a man, a woman, you have a partner, you don't, you're a parent, it's extremely important because eventually things will fall apart if you're not all the way together yourself. So, any aspect of your business, if you can make decisions from a calm mind and a calm place, it's really important. And the simplest thing, but it always boils down to this for me, is get enough sleep.
Mm,
I used to
Ah,
pride myself on not having to sleep very much, but oh, get that sleep, be fresh, be ready. And if things go awry that day, start over the next day. It's okay.
all right. We like it. I'm going to have more questions, but I'm going to let Manny continue because I want to go back to your role as an author, but let's let Manny go first.
I love it that you said get enough sleep because when people tell me that they sleep 4 hours a night, I get heartburn. I'm like,
Same.
I can't function. And I do love this idea. I feel the same way. Your body just needs a reset. Like, just get a good night's sleep, just one good night's sleep. It just
It's
does wonders.
everything.
It's everything. So, yeah,
Yes.
we're twinsies on that for sure. For sure. So, we've
Yes.
had some other guests in the past who are founders of their business and they've considered franchising their business, many different types of industries. When do you get involved in the process as a franchise consultant?
Yeah.
And is every business made to be a franchise, or are some businesses left just as they are?
Well, I'll answer the first part. So, as a franchise consultant, I personally am a little unique in that I've worn every hat in franchising there is. So, I can help someone either decide if they should become a franchise. I can help a franchise system grow. I can work directly with franchisees to support them. And as of this past January, I also help people match to the best franchise system for them. So I
Mm,
do a lot of different things, anything to do with franchising. Um, can every business be a franchise? I personally believe the answer is no. It doesn't mean that's the real answer. That's just my opinion from 27 years of experience. I think that certain businesses, the scalability of the business should not rely on a number of different people with different opinions and values and locations. It just might not work for them. And I've seen it not work. But there are thousands of franchise concepts out there for a reason. And everything from literally being a consultant is franchisable
mhm.
to owning, the jumpy house business that the kids love, like all those fun things like the trampoline parks and things like that. And we all know food and so yeah, I hope that answers both questions, but
It totally answers it. Yeah, so
oh good.
if somebody's got a little extra money to invest and they're analyzing passive income or
Mhm.
getting involved with a franchise business or buying real estate, like why is franchising or getting involved with a franchise, why is that a good decision for an investment?
So the idea behind franchising is that the franchisor or headquarters or corporate or whatever you'd like to call them, they have the experience, the knowledge, and the know-how. They have a team of experts at the executive level who have been there and done that in that type of business, not only in franchising, but whatever that offering may be. So a new entrepreneur who has an idea is that's amazing. And that happens every day and that is wonderful, but they will likely make mistakes along the way, and they're very costly.
Mm,
So that's part A. Part B is that entrepreneur may also be seeking a community of like-minded people doing the same thing, and that is what a franchise provides. A franchise also, if it's more established, can provide a well-known brand so that the new company doesn't have to build a presence. It's already there within a franchise system.
okay, and then last follow-up question. What are some red flags if somebody's interviewing different industries or different franchise opportunities and they're asking all the right questions and the answers they're getting back are XYZ?
Yeah.
What are those that are red flag to
Good
potential
Ooh,
question.
business?
Good
Yeah.
question.
yeah, great question. The biggest red flag in franchising, and it's actually a hot legal topic because it's not legal anymore to do this, but that's why it's a red flag. If a franchisor is promising the moon, the stars, the sun in terms of income,
Mm,
huge red flag. The Federal Trade Commission now oversees franchising and has for decades, but there are very strict laws about what a franchisor can and cannot say to a prospective franchisee. And if you're a prospective franchisee and you call and they're like, you can make $8 million your first year, and um, huge red flag, and oftentimes the biggest one you want to run far, far away.
mm. Okay. Good.
Interesting.
Good tip.
Now, now you've been a coach officially for like 6 years, we'll say. What inspired you to start an official coaching practice?
Yes. Well, prior to what I'm doing now as a coach, I had actually quite literally stepped off this giant cliff way back in 2008. And it's interesting that coach consultant thing. I
Mhm.
called myself a consultant for years. And I first did it in 2008 and it evolved. And then the official Liberty Bernal coaching of the last 6 years changed. Because I think now, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but I'm a little bit more human about it. I
Mm.
was pretty young in 2008. I was 28, but I thought I knew everything.
As we do.
And yes, we do. And
As
I
we
knew a
do.
lot. I knew a lot, but I think that now I can coach from very significant life experience and just a different headspace around making a lot of mistakes. Back in 2008, I was so fortunate enough that Curves had gone well and Liberty Fitness had gone well. There weren't a lot of mistakes and missteps yet to have learned from, to teach about. And now, oh my goodness, I have plenty.
Yeah.
And actually, I was asked to speak on a panel once that was do as I say, not as I did.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
so
That's a
good.
great
What a great
title.
title.
Lessons,
Amani, we
lessons
gotta remember
learned.
that.
But yeah,
Mhm.
make a
Great
note. It's
one.
a really good
Yeah.
topic. But that's what we get, right? With our wisdom and with our life experience. And we can bang our heads against a wall to try to get younger people to listen. Don't make the mistake I did. But it is very valuable. So that is primarily why I've stuck in coaching and consulting. Is again, I mentioned at the beginning, I am motivating and inspiring, and I want to affect lives. That's part of it. Is learning from my mistakes and teaching on what I didn't do.
Yeah, yeah. What's what's maybe your favorite mistake that serves the best teaching content?
uh, I think it goes back to around that time I mentioned earlier with taking on
Oh
so
yeah,
much.
yeah.
And I don't want to say too much because for everyone it's different. Perhaps someone else in my shoes at the time would have done great and they could have handled way more than I did. But a huge aha moment for me at that time was leaving my house and driving away to go to work, which at the time it was at this fitness studio where I taught 15 classes a week plus was running the franchise. I looked in the rearview mirror and the nanny was walking my daughter in a stroller, and I just thought, whoa, that is not that anything's wrong with that, but realizing that was the majority of Gracie's life at the time, and I needed to change something so that I was also the one doing that, right? So, that was an aha moment, but, again, I it took me having near breakdown to
Hmm.
get out of that and the problem, I think, is that there is an element of our society that applauds the juggle and the
Yeah,
Mhm.
struggle. And I felt like, oh, I've got to keep this up, And at the same time, you guys, I was training for like a half marathon a month, and just it was so too much. So I would say, if that answers your
yeah.
question,
That's a great answer.
yeah, that
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
What has been the key for you to like grow your coaching business? Because there are a lot of people who watch this show and listen that might be thinking about, they want to be a coach, they want to kind of grow their coaching practice. What's been the key for
Mhm.
you?
Consistency with utilizing a network authentically. So, I've been in franchising and in just I love networking and I love people. So along my career, I've made all of these really great relationships, but not to use them, to build relationships. And I know that it technically has a value, but I've never really viewed it that way. But when I started this latest part of consulting and coaching, which is connecting people to a franchise, I am utilizing my network and letting them know what I'm doing so that I might help them if they want to explore franchising. So far I call my clients in that part of my world candidates because they become candidates for franchises. Every strong candidate that I have worked with in the last 6 months has been because of my network, not marketing. I've not spent a dollar on marketing and
Mm,
advertising. It's been just putting the word out and staying true to myself, by letting them simply know what I'm doing, and they're trusting my experience.
interesting. So we're on a call here or episode with three authors. We always have to ask you, like, what did you learn about yourself through the book writing and release
Mm.
process?
Ooh, I learned. So I'm currently writing two. So I've had two really different experiences. The first time in 2019, I wrote my book in 3 weeks, but it
Mm,
had been percolating for 20 years,
Mhm.
or building. I learned that I could write a book in 3 weeks. That was pretty huge. I just I thought it would be way it is difficult, and I don't wanna minimize it, but I just thought I don't know what I thought. I thought it would be harder, I guess. So that was part of it. The release of it was so humbling because I thought I would sell so many more
Yeah.
copies and it would be so much easier. And I just had this, rainbows and butterflies picture in
Yeah.
my head, and it just wasn't that. And I like to blame COVID. Like I said before, I did publish it in December of 2019, so all of the book signings and whatnot were canceled. Could I have picked it back up when the world started moving again? Yes, but I didn't. And that's what inspired me to pick it back up now and write work from a place of where I am now. But I think the process showed me that, yeah, I can do it. I can write it out and do it, and it doesn't take years. It can be in weeks or days or months.
What is
Oh,
your new book about?
So I have two I'm working on,
Okay,
but
that's great.
one is for women, midlife women. Sorry, Amani, but
okay.
as
I'm an
you can
ally. I'm
tell,
an
I
ally.
really, yes, men are very important to the story because we're all in this together. But for the most part, women's bodies are different. So what I've experienced since I published that other book has been perimenopause. So I
Yep.
know we talked about swearing before we
Mhm.
started this podcast, but shit gets real and different and it changes. And we're like, what the heck is going on with my body? So I wrote more of a guide for women and their, going through perimenopause and menopause and what I did. So it's structured. It's not generalities. It's here is exactly what I did over 12 weeks to shift because I found myself just this past January in a very bad headspace.
Mhm.
And I had just kind of let go. And I had gained weight and I wasn't feeling well. My hormones were wacky. And I explored going down, a medicinal path, but I thought I'm going to give myself the next few months to make positive shifts instead, just like I would coach someone else to do. And
Yeah.
so I made notes and wrote about it. And it sort of like what I spoke about earlier, it has a lot more to do with calming our nervous system than it does with high impact exercise. And quite frankly, it's more about cut out the high impact and let's get real about what our bodies need now. So it's fitness, nutrition, and wellness, but kind of not what you think. So I'm working on that, and it likely won't be published as a book. It will likely be published as something you can access digitally. Um, and the second book is a guide for, I don't want to just say moms, but I'm calling them unicorn adults who know a middle school aged girl
Hmm.
who can work with a middle school aged girl on self esteem, empowerment, and just navigating this crazy world. And I realized in all of my time and years and decades working with women, had someone been there for them at an earlier age, they probably wouldn't have had the issues that they had later in life,
Yeah.
had someone had a jump start with them to be in a healthier headspace. So the guidebook I'm working on is that.
We
That's
love it.
beautiful. What's your perimenopause alter ego name? Do you have one? Mine's Maureen.
Whoa, really? I
Yes.
don't know. I need help. I actually, I need one, Mandy. Maybe we can think about that.
Let's brainstorm. Let's brainstorm.
Let's
It's gotta be
brainstorm because
like
it,
the same name, like the same initial, right? Like
yes.
Lisa or
Oh,
Lacey or
yeah. Like,
Lexi or something.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
something Loretta.
Loretta. Oh, that's a well, there's a Loretta who listens to this show. She's gonna love that. Hi, Loretta. Your
Loretta. I'm
perimenopause name.
Okay. Okay. Now that we've had that revelation.
Amani's like, and new topic.
Well, we need an alter ego. Amani, when your body and your brain do things that's completely out of personality, it is
Right.
You
impossible to think
you
it
are a
is
different
you.
human.
It
Yeah,
Yeah.
feels so much better to be like, oh, Maureen's here right now. It
that's
just
I
like
so
feels
understand.
true.
so much
I
better.
understand.
So
I understand.
true.
But it's a good segue because now we're to the part of the show where we flip the script and we let you ask both myself and Mandy any question you like. So nothing is off
Yay.
limits. So what is said question and who do you want to ask the question to first?
Oh my goodness. Okay, you guys, I'm referring to notes because I did write
Ooh.
a couple down, but I have some in my mind as well from this conversation. Um, but well, my first question that I don't need to refer to notes for is why did you create this podcast?
Mandy, since it's our third anniversary, I love how you tell the story.
Oh, good.
Ah, third anniversary. Amani and I were volunteers for an industry organization. Well, Amani was the president, and I was a volunteer on the education committee. And it was one of those calls where they're like, "How do we get more people to the annual conference?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just interviewed on a LinkedIn Live last week. It was great. Like, why don't we just do that once a week, leading all the way up to the conference?" And people were like, "Great idea, Mandy, go for it." It was one of those, like, you bring the idea and then you have to do it. I had never done this before. I had just been I was in the middle of a book tour. So I had been interviewed on a lot of podcasts, but I'd never created one. And Amani was a live streamer, DJ. He's like, "I'll do that with you."
So
So
cool.
he and I, like 10 to 15 minutes once a week, would interview speakers from the conference, sponsors, philanthropy projects, facility people, like anybody that had anything to do with
Mhm.
the conference once a week. And it helped generate some more registration for the conference, and it raised some awareness. So after those 6
Awesome.
weeks, we were like, well, now what do we do? Like, the conference happened and
It's over.
we liked hanging out. And so we decided to create Adventures in Business Live. We
I love
both
it.
love business. We both run multiple businesses. And we thought, part of us we get to interact with all these cool people in different industries. So part of us wanted to bring these stories to other people so we could learn
Yes.
from each other. And then the other part of us was like, let's meet cool people and network with them. Let's build our network. And then the other part is a masterclass. Like Amani, I always make fun of him. He's got his journal and he's always like writing his
Oh,
journal, but like lessons he's learning from Adventures in Business once a week. So
awesome.
always feel like we get more out of it. Oh, there it is. We get more out of it maybe than the audience or the guest does. But it's been a great 3 years, and we're going strong. We're not stopping, just getting started.
Mm-hmm. Great
That's so
answer.
cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Amani?
Well, no, Mandy described it so well. I just like the masterclass, but like right now, we are in a masterclass on franchising, what to do,
Mhm.
what to look out for, the red flags, how to make sure you don't overcommit. Like this is a masterclass. This is a perfect example because I knew nothing about franchising really, but just some of the things you're telling us through your stories. Not you're not teaching us just through your stories is very valuable, and I think that's an underrated part about doing podcasts.
Yes, absolutely. I am a podcaster, although I've taken a little break from it, and I would agree with you that it is a masterclass every time. It's phenomenal, and you get to share it with anyone who wants to tune in. It's a beautiful thing. And some people say, are there too many podcasts out there? And I think the
Yeah.
answer is no, because
No.
Nope.
every host is so unique and everyone has a different story. And when you combine it, it's always a different combination. And I mean, I think this is fantastic, and you both are amazing hosts. So I'm
Yes.
I'm so
Thank
grateful to be here. Well, and
What's your
speaking of, oh, sorry. Next
what's your
question
second
is that
question? Speaking of, yeah, go ahead.
well, we've talked about previous guests like Teresa who is tuning in live,
Mhm.
and you've mentioned you get to learn and have a master class from different guests. Um, what makes a guest memorable for you?
Mm.
Like what who not who specifically, but what makes it good, I guess. I know that's a little bit subjective, but who's a good guest in your mind?
I would say a good guest is someone who like tells really good stories, is open and honest and vulnerable, and just really is engaged and like not in a rush and just like really makes a point to kind of engage, and it's more of a conversation, less of an interview. And some of them, it's really a fine line, but really it's the stories, the questions they might ask us, and just how they communicate with us that really makes the episode like fly by. That's my answer. What about you, Mandy?
I agree. I do think, Amani, I probably look at this in different ways because I'm all about like a free flowing conversation, and when the guest is open to that, like when it takes a turn you didn't expect it to take, not in a gotcha moment, but in a
Yes.
you just go down a road moment. I love that. Like, I wanna follow somebody into that cave, wherever that is, if it's dark, if it's light, I wanna go there, And so
Yeah.
I'll sacrifice any question I have on my list if a conversation is going to some organic spot that maybe it wasn't a part of the format. Maybe we didn't plan it. I like this. I like when guests are open to spontaneity in the interview. I really like that. And
Absolutely.
and this from podcasting. There are some guests that in advance are like, what are all the
Mm.
questions? What is this?
Yes.
What they're so nervous. And
Yeah.
and I feel for them because not everybody wants to publicly speak, not everybody wants to share of themselves the way we want to share. And so we try and make this as comfortable as a situation as possible. We even tell people, like, you're not going to get any questions from us in advance because we don't want you to sound rehearsed. Like,
Mhm.
we don't
Yes.
want you to be remembering talking points. Like, we want you to be organically yourself. So I really like it when a guest allows them to go to that spot wherever not in a Barbara Walters way, who I love. I don't want to make
Yes.
anybody cry, but like when you're talking with somebody and they're like, gosh, this is
Yeah.
reminding me of something I don't think I've ever told anybody before. Like
Mm.
that
Mm.
space
Yeah.
is like, oh, it's so golden, I
I
think.
don't mind making
Agree.
people cry though. People can cry. It's
Oh,
okay.
Amani.
Buddy.
Be careful, Liberty. You're on the cry
Yes.
chopping block
Oh
Speaking of
today.
that, yes,
boy.
yes. Speaking of
Oh
making you
boy. All
cry,
right.
here's my one of my final questions. No, it won't make you cry. But I'm curious to your answer. If we were to run into Liberty when she was 18
Mm.
and she was thinking about going to college, but she had just made the decision to, you know what, I'm going to bypass college and I'm going to go on to franchising. But you're going to share with her just advice. What advice would you give your younger 18-year-old self?
Well, I'll say this, I did try to juggle it first. So
Okay.
18-year-old Liberty was very stubborn and thought she knew everything. So even though I had this chance, to go into business with my parents, at the time it was one curved location. So it was juggleable. And even two locations. There were the three of us running two locations, easy business model. But then when the franchise came about, that is when I couldn't handle it all. And I will say this, and actually, I don't know if I've really shared this. So
Oh,
speaking of what we were just
Perfect
saying,
guest. Yeah.
uh, as much as I think everyone, from the outside perspective, it was just like, wow, success, and everything's great. I was really stressed, really stressed out. And there were personalities involved. When you're working with your family,
Mhm.
especially my family, I guess it was not easy. And I didn't just go, I'm to college. It was really a difficult decision for me and the day-to-day grind of what was happening. The timeline too of starting my first Liberty Fitness before it became a franchise. I was set to open on September 19th, 2001.
Oh
And if you
boy.
recall,
yeah.
September 11th happened. So when
Yeah.
I did go ahead and open the doors on September 19th, no one joined for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And my parents had, put a lot of money into it. And I sat in an empty room essentially thinking, what have I done? So there was, obviously a lot more to it, but I would tell that, 20, 21-year-old Liberty, it's gonna be okay. It always is, and you will go through tough
Mhm.
stuff. It's gonna suck, but it is going to be okay. And,
Mm.
I can look back now over 20, however many years since then, and it is always okay.
What
Yeah.
what kind of resentment and gratitude, because I feel both things can be true. Like, what kind of resentment and gratitude do you have towards your parents for bringing you in this journey so early?
I could go deep with this, but
Oh,
for a
snap.
friend, you know, the resentment is I think some of the decision making on their part was selfish. But I don't fault them for it. I think they also wanted to give me an amazing opportunity doing what I
Yeah.
loved. But as I mentioned earlier, once you start a franchise, you are a franchisor, and what you do every day and your business is very different. But I had evolved into that. Um, so the resentment aspect, I don't think I've carried it with me, but just that selfishness and even throughout how we grew, where money went when we sold our company to private equity, what that looked like, that's a whole, like I said, a whole other story. But
Mhm.
the gravity of my gratitude cannot even be
Mm.
explained because it set me off on this path of an incredible career. Could it have looked better? Sure, but who knows? No one knows what it all would have looked like. So I'm extremely, extremely grateful for having been given that opportunity. But and at the time, I think some people think my parents kind of did everything and it was just named after me, but I actually carried the weight of a lot of it and filled that president and CEO role by doing those things. But it was so awesome to have that opportunity and learn from it so early. So I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah, and so many of us, I just think interacting with your parents at that age and to grow with them, like they were still growing as humans too, and you're
Yes,
growing as a human. I think that is such a gift. Like that's such a gift to have. Not everybody can do that with their parents, and I think just being with your parents like that, I think is a beautiful thing to be able to
it
do, even
was.
even if it was ugly, even if it wasn't perfect. I think it's
Yes, there
just a
were
really
very
big
ugly
gift.
times, and my
Yeah.
brother was part of it as well. So let's
Mhm.
throw that in the mix.
I'll
My
throw
old
that in.
my 6 years older brother who, at the time seemed so much older. He was, 28 and I was 22 and we were running this company, but we ended up going through a lot together. Curve sued my family
Mhm.
along the way. So we went through a giant lawsuit, but we won. So that was
Yeah, you
good.
did.
But just going
Congratulations.
through those, thank you, going through those not only at the age that I was, but with my family, it was quite the experience, but it
Yeah.
was ultimately it was positive. Thank goodness.
Before I know we're wrapping up here, I wanted to touch on this earlier and I forgot to ask about it, but this is a really, really important work that you're doing with the Strong Body Collective. So, what is the Strong Body Collective and why did you create it?
Yes, Strong Body Collective is a program for preteen girls. And I can see it evolving into teenagers as well, into high school age. But it started because Gracie is my inspiration, as I explained. And I was starting to take notice of the conversations that she was having or conversations that I was having with moms, mostly some dads, about what is influencing these girls today. And just everyone says, oh my gosh, it's so hard and that age is so hard, and they are already naturally changing and not understanding that, let alone just being in 2025. But even not 2025, when I was Gracie's age, it was 1992 and it was hard then too.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
I started looking for some sort of program that could help Gracie, and I wasn't finding a whole lot. And a lot of them were geared more toward athletes or athletics alone. And I really wanted to find something, and I ended up creating something that was more supportive on the emotional side without being a therapist. I was lucky enough to have a family therapist review my content, but I created a program that can be done in person through a guide and also online. It's all the online and the guide are in development. But I did complete the first 6-week program. It was a weekly 90-minute session with a small group of girls
mm,
where we did everything from journaling to yoga to light jogs to writing a note to their future self, to writing a note to an adult that they want to thank, to
mm.
breathing exercises, finding their calm, all these things that support, again, sort of what I'm going back to in my guide for perimenopausal women. But
Starts and ends. Yeah, yeah.
let's start that younger and just support it. Some of the moms that were I was talking to were saying things like, my 12-year-old is back to having 2-year-old meltdowns. Why
Mm,
is that? What's going on? It was because she couldn't regulate her emotions because no one was really teaching her. So physical, mental, emotional wellness. And for those girls who might not have a team that they're on, my daughter Gracie is not conventional athletic, kind of like I was at her age. I found acting and singing and dancing to be more my jam than soccer and anything else. So the girls on teams get a little bit of that
yeah.
conversation, but especially for young girls who aren't having any access to that, um, that's why I founded it. So I know that's a big answer. But if anyone's interested, I post a lot about it on my Instagram, and I have an Instagram that is the Strong Body Collective as well.
Awesome.
And you can see a lot more about it.
And is that something anybody can join? Is that something if we know a 12-year-old, we can bring them there, we can participate with
It's
them? Like, how
soon.
do you get involved?
Yeah. That is why I decided to take it online. Right now, it's in North County because I'm in North County, San
Mhm,
Diego. But I wanted it to be, a nationwide, if not worldwide option. So the guide is a series of activities, exercises, and reading material for this young lady and her adult to work through
mhm,
together and maybe talk through some topics that would come up naturally or maybe not come up comfortably, but
mhm.
make them more natural and comfortable. So very soon that will launch. I actually have a Kickstarter going. It's not going to hit its goal, I don't think, but I'm in the midst of fundraising to build that out a lot more.
Awesome. Send us that link and we'll put it in the show
Thank
notes for
you.
you.
I
Yes, for
will. I will.
sure. Yeah, for sure. That's
Okay, good.
awesome.
We
Cool.
appreciate your time and just the stories you've shared, the teaching. It's
Thank
been
you,
very
Mandi.
valuable. I think we didn't even get to some of the other parts of your business, what you do, but that could be for part two.
Okay.
But just continue to. I just think it's so unique the niche you're in with your coaching. People on what franchises to maybe go after, and that's very different and special. And I really appreciate that. So just props to
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for being a guest. And then what we'll do is we'll put you in the green room now. We'll give you a round of applause, but we can't
Thank
wait to
you.
continue to watch your story and see what else you bring to us.
Thank you so much, both of you. This was wonderful. I really
Yeah.
appreciate being here.
Thanks for being here.
Awesome.
It's good to see you.
You
Round of
too.
applause
Bye,
here. Round of
Liberty.
applause. Here
Thank
we
you.
go.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.